3 planes of associations. And that is the focus for tonight's discussion. 3 planes of associations. How associations actually help us in our capacity building endeavor. Now, I'll speak about the first plane, which is those below you. Those below you. That is the first plane. Then we'll go to the second plane, which is those around you. Those around you. Then we'll take a look at plane 3, or the third plane, which is those above you. Now, these are 3 planes of associations we have. And these 3 planes are going to affect or influence our capacity building endeavor for leadership. If we know how these planes operate, and we know how to relate with all the associations in these 3 planes, climbing high on the ladder of leadership is going to be very, very easy. So we are going to look at them one after another. So the first plane, we said that it is those below you. Those below you. Now, anyone who functions below you as a subordinate in any field makes certain inputs in your life that increases your capacity. Now, I did not start with those above you because it is easier to perceive that because of mentorship. But we should understand this, that even if you are mentoring someone, recognize that those below you have a great input into your life. For example, one of the basic things that those below you do is that they provide encouragement for you. That is one of the capacity building systems they use. How do they do this? They encourage you that you are doing great so you don't get discouraged by those above you. Now, this is one of the major roles those below you play to help you build your capacity. If you are overly exposed to people above you, there is a tendency, if you are overly exposed and only exposed to those above you, there is a tendency of feeling discouraged. Sometimes because of the distance between you and those above you. So where those below you come in is, they encourage you. How? Because of the input you make in their lives. So you see that they continuously draw from what you carry. Because of that, you are encouraged that you are doing well. That has its downside, but we'll talk about that later. So anytime you're around people, let's say you're a business person, and you usually interact with people who see you as higher, maybe people whose businesses are not as excellent as yours, maybe people whose businesses are not as successful as yours, it gives you some form of encouragement that you are doing well. And that encouragement is very vital for continuing on that path. If you don't have that encouragement, there are people who give up in life because they don't have people who look up to them. So the first one of the very important planes is those who are below you. And that is why we must know how to relate well with anyone who is below us in any field. In ministry, those who are less graced than you, let me say it that way, or those who are not as gifted as you, what do? They encourage you. 2, they serve as a source of challenge so that you can stay focused on what you are doing. Those below you become a challenge to you. They are a source of challenge to stay ahead so you can keep pouring into them. So whenever you meet with people who are below you, they expect to receive something from you. Now, that expectation they create keeps you on your toes and it keeps you running. So for example, let's say you are a minister and then there are people who look up to you, and it seems anytime they speak with you, there is something that comes from you to them. It is going to keep you on your toes. You realize that it will keep you on track. You realize you have to stay on track because anytime they meet you, they have to be blessed by what you say. If you are running an organization and anytime your subordinates come to you, you have nothing to offer them, it will start affecting you. But whenever they come to you, the things you say, the skills you exhibit impresses them. It is going to help challenge you. It is going to encourage you. It's going to keep you on your toes. It's going to challenge you to actually stay on track. So that is one of the main reasons why it's important to have people below you, to have people you are being a blessing to have people you are also mentoring, to have people who can also learn from what you know. Because no matter where you are, no matter where you are, there are people who need what you have. No matter where you are, there are people who need what you have. Sometimes you think, oh, you need people, but remember, people also need you. You need what someone has. That's true. But don't forget that there are people also praying for where you are and what you have. Oh, your corporation may not be doing so well like another corporation, but I can assure you that corporation is doing better than many corporations. So there are still people who can learn from you. So the first plane is those who are below you. And this is how they help us. Now, the second plane of associations is those around you. Those around you. Those around you. When I say those around you, I'm talking about those who are not above you and those who are not below you. Those in a similar environment like yourself. Those you can call colleagues in a particular sense. They are the second plane of associations we need in our capacity building endeavor. How do we get our capacities built? By this plane. One, they advise you. Those around you advise you. And that advice can go a long way to helping you. Now, the reason why the advice of those around you is very important is because they are in a similar place as you are. Because of that, there is some understanding they may have that you don't have. So the advice of those around you is very relevant and important. Two, those around you, they are there to fellowship with you. And because of that, there is the breeding of exchange of ideas. It breeds exchange of ideas. They are not really mentors you look up to, and they are not mentees who look up to you. They are like colleagues. So when you meet with them, there is the exchange of ideas. You see, the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17, it says, iron sharpens iron. So a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. When you meet such people, there is exchange of ideas. They see things from a certain perspective. And sometimes when you get their perspective to add to your perspective, you become whole. You become more complete. You interact with such people and you're like, oh, okay, I did not see it from this angle. Those are the people when you meet, you can interact with. Remember, for those in plane one, when you meet with them, they mostly listen to you. That is usually the traditional thing. They mostly listen to you. So you do most of the talking. In plane two, you are talking and you are listening at the same time. So you are learning. So there is interaction. There is the rubbing of minds. There is rubbing of minds. And because of that, there is the rubbing of ideas. You get extra ideas to add to your ideas. And sometimes you don't really get extra ideas, but you see your idea from a better perspective than you saw it previously. The third thing about plane two associations, they help you stay on track so you don't veer off. They help you stay on track so you don't veer off. This is because you are likely on a similar path. They help you stay on track so you don't veer off. This is because you are likely on a similar path. Okay, so imagine, let's say in 100-meter race, there's a 100-meter race, and let's say there's a 10,000-meter race. The pace at which you move in these two races are not the same. So if you have like-minded or similar people, colleagues around you, they help you to stay on track. If not, you are likely to veer off because they are in a similar situation like you are. they will help you not to veer off. So interacting with them becomes a blessing. Next, they give you relevant inputs since they are around where you are. They give you relevant inputs since they are around where you are. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say if I were holding 20,000 pounds, okay, and I wanted to buy something in Ghana, I would have to convert it to Ghana cedis, because that is the currency we are supposed to interact with or do business with in this country. So you see that in as much as there are people you look up to, sometimes the people around you help convert the counsel from the top into bits that are consumable for your level. What I mean is this: for these people, because they are around where you are, what they say will be familiar to you because they are in a familiar environment as you are. They are interacting in the same currency as you. You are all dealing in Ghana cedis because you are all in Ghana. That's what I'm trying to say. So everything they say has already been converted to something accessible. And that is why the inputs of those around you is so relevant and important. Then the next thing is that they help you stay balanced. 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 All right. Now, let me just add this to it. One of the downsides of Plane 2 associations is that they can also breed competition. Like I said for Plane 1, if you stay around Plane 1 associations for very long and you stay around only Plane 1 associations, you are not likely to develop because you think you are ahead. Because you are always interacting with people you are only ahead of. So you may not be challenged to move forward in a certain sense. Now, with Plane 2, Plane 2 can easily breed competition. You are likely to compete because you are like colleagues. You hardly compete with someone who is below you because they look up to you. But it's easy to compete with someone who is around where you are. So I gave an athletics example. In a 100-meter race, all those 8 athletes are competing with each other. So in as much as an athlete can give you a particular counsel as to the pace at which to move, that athlete is also your competitor. So that is one of the things to look at when it comes to Plane 2 associations. But that's not the focus tonight. But I just wanted to draw attention to it. Then let's go to Plane 3. Plane 3 associations. Plane 3 associations are those who are above you. Those above you. Those above you. Those who usually be called mentors or disciples. Okay, those you look up to in that field, in whatever field you are functioning in. Those who you perceive as knowing better than you and can make certain inputs into your life. Those who are where you are going to. Those whose present is your future. Okay. And where you are now is where they were before. So they can actually make certain inputs into your life. Let me give us 3 advantages of Plane 3 associations. 1, they challenge you to keep climbing. They challenge you to keep climbing. So when you have someone you look up to, the person challenges you to keep climbing because you keep seeing your future in that person. So seeing the person is always an encouragement and is always a challenge at the same time. You are encouraged and challenged to move forward. You hear that business person talking. You go or you walk into that business corporation. As you see the place, something happens to you. You are challenged that, wow, we can get there. We can do better. We can increase. So what they do is they challenge you to keep climbing. 2, they stretch you to do more than you are doing so you don't get complacent. They stretch you to do more than you are doing so you don't get complacent. I mentioned that if you only stay with Plane 1 associations, you are likely to get complacent because it is like you are around people who you know better than. But when you meet a Plane 3 person, you realize that you are challenged. Why? Because they are higher than you. on that ladder you are climbing, they are far ahead. So there is a tendency of you being challenged and stretched to do more. What happens is you keep increasing your standard. You keep increasing your benchmark. Why? Because you keep seeing these people. It challenges your mind. So you make necessary inputs to get where they are. And then three, you do well to stay on track so that the distance between you and them doesn't increase unnecessarily. So because plane 3 associations are people who are ahead of you, you are encouraged to stay on track, because if you don't, they will keep going further and the distance will keep increasing. The essence is for these people to actually carry you along. So as they go higher, you go higher with them. As they increase, you increase with them. As they go forward, you go forward with them. As their businesses increase, your business increases. As their spiritual lives move forward, your spiritual life moves forward. So you see that these people actually make certain inputs into you. They give you access to the things they had access to that made them get to where they are now. So as you keep riding on the things they are providing for you, you'll be moving in step with them. So let's say the plane 3 person is on level 5 and you're on level 3. And he gives you access to what took him from level 3 to level 4. As you follow that, you move from level 3 to level 4. Now, by the time you move from level 3 to level 4, it's likely he or she has also moved from level 5 to level 6. So it keeps encouraging you. So before you get to a place, it's likely that person has tested that place. So that person becomes an effective guide to you. And that is why plane 3 associations are also very relevant and very important. Now, one downside to plane 3 associations that you must also take note of is that if you only stay with plane 3 people, sometimes you are likely to get discouraged, especially if you don't have anybody you are pouring into. When you observe the distance between you and this plane 3 person, sometimes when the gap is so wide, if you are not careful, you'll be discouraged because you will see it as difficult to get to. But where you have the balance of a plane 2 person around you, you are like, oh, okay, where I am is not so bad after all, because there are people in that plane. And then you also have the balance of a plane 1 person. You are more encouraged because you are like, oh, in addition to the fact that people are where I am, there are people who are yet to get where I am. And there are people I'm also pouring into. And that is why having access to these 3 planes is important. So the plane 1 person helps you a lot. The plane 2 person helps you a lot. And the plane 3 person helps you a lot. But like I said, there are certain disadvantages of those planes. So we must learn how to associate with these planes of associations around our lives. What it means is that we must now look around in our leadership pursuit and identify these people around you. Maybe let's say there are 25 people around you. Maybe there are 20 people around you. Maybe there are 3 people around you. Ask yourself, where does this association fall? Is it a plane 1 association? Is it a plane 2 association? Is it a plane 3 association? Now, if you are able to put them in those categories, you will now know how to relate with those people. Because there is a way you relate with those on plane 1. There is a way you relate with those on plane 2. And there is a way you relate with those on plane 3. If you are with someone who is a plane 3 association to you, and you keep talking and you don't listen, you may destroy that association. Because like I said, usually when you're with plane 1 people, mostly you do the talking. You don't do too much listening like you do with a plane 3. Because with plane 1, they are there to learn from you. In as much as you learn from them, they learn from you more. So you do more talking. But with plane 3, they do more talking. So if you have a plane 3 person in your life and you relate to the person like a plane 1 person, you are going to do a lot of talking and you are going to end that association or that relationship. In the same sense, if you have a plane 3 person like a mentor in your life and you relate to the person like a plane 2 person, where you think it's about exchange of ideas and you are intending to tell the person what to do, you are likely to destroy that association or that relationship. And you lose what that relationship or that association has for you. Why? Because you could not handle it. Why couldn't you handle it? Because you did not know that this person is on plane 3. So look around your life. Look at the people around you and ask yourself, which plane does this person fall? Which plane does this person fall? Which plane does this person fall? And begin to relate to them in that sense. So in conclusion, like I've already said, you have to recognize the plane of each of the associations you have so you can position yourself to receive capacity building. Because the capacity building you receive from plane 1 is not the same one you receive from plane 2, and it's not the same you receive from plane 3. I take it again. The capacity building you receive from relating with plane 1 people is not the same as that of plane 2, and it's not the same as that of plane 3. Each of them is different. Then I said also that if you relate with someone in a plane as someone belonging to another plane, you will miss what that association will supply. So it means that there is a need to master associations or to master relationships. There's a need to master associations or master relationships. Okay, with that, I'll just recommend a book that I heard one minister recommend that was a great blessing. How to Influence and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very wonderful book. It will help you to know how to relate with different kinds of people for the profit of every association around your life.